Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the upper tier. This is your Man City versus Chelsea match reaction and player ratings for the Blues. Bad day at the office for Chelsea. Seemed to struggle with the game. Man City very, very dominant at times in terms of their speed and their movement and their passing of the ball. Tough day. Chelsea obviously coming out of the title race now. I'd say it's done now at 13 points is the lead now. I mean, there's no chance in hell that you're going to pull that back. So now Chelsea have to concentrate on solidifying their top four finish. But yeah, looked a little bit lackluster. I'm sure Chelsea fans out there, drop your comments in the episode there. I'm sure you're not going to be happy with the starting lineup. I'm sure you're not going to be happy with the non-use of Mason Mount, only bringing him on in the 80th minute. He would have been a guy who really would have tried to stand up to City. It kind of felt like the game at the bridge a little bit as well. Man City seemed to be dominant in the game. The front line of Chelsea, Ziyech, a passenger today. Lukaku, very sloppy even in his hold of play. Balls being played into him and again bouncing off him. And I know some of the guys on the tier here have spoke about that in the past, that his close control and hold of play at times could be questionable. Werner came on, livened it up a little bit, but again, not a whole lot seemed out of the game. At times, some of those players seemed like they were being bullied off the ball at times. For City, I thought Kevin De Bruyne was outstanding. I thought Bernardo Silva was outstanding. I mean, I think, all over the pitch, I think they were pretty outstanding. Interesting, Marcos Alonso getting booked in the 7th minute kind of, puts pay to his kind of involvement in the game in terms of his aggressive style and stuff like that. Kovacic obviously getting booked in the 32nd minute as well. Again, having to be very, very careful because he's so pivotal for Chelsea there in the middle of the park. He was the one guy today that kind of stood up to them and came out with a little bit of credit in terms of the performance of Chelsea. I thought Kante at times was really good, at times at winning back the ball, but his distribution was a little bit questionable. I thought there was a lot of backward play off Chelsea, especially in the first half, where they could have been firing long balls towards Lukaku and stuff like that to open things up and stuff like that. That run that Kyle Walker made where he just caught up with Ziyech like he didn't even exist. He just ghosted by him. What a monster Kyle Walker is of a player, Kevin De Bruyne steps up 70th minute. He had threatened to cut in at this like this a few times, but cuts in, unleashes a drive. Kepa kind of slightly moves to his right, and then he suddenly dives to his left, but he's quite a bit off his goal line as well. And the ball just sails into the right-hand corner. Sublime goal from Kevin De Bruyne, a goal worthy of winning any game. But it leaves the Chelsea fans now feeling a little bit blue. Title race done, no way back. And at this time tomorrow, we'll know if there's a title race at all when Liverpool face Brentford, because anything less than 3 points, and you may as well just send the trophy to the Etihad now. It's an absolute waste of time. Pulisic, not really in the game at all either. As I said, we spoke about Lukaku already. In terms of possession, I thought at times they were overrun a little bit by City. But we'll get into the Chelsea player ratings, because I said to him we would do a show like this to, come back from the preview that we did. And it's always a tough one. So we start with Kepa. Kepa, I gave a 6. I think overall, I think he was decent. I think he claimed everything he had to claim. That save he made from Grealish, I thought was outstanding off his tie. But when you have to step up in those moments, and we know Kevin De Bruyne is an absolute world-class player, and sometimes you just strike balls that just can't be stopped. But I just thought Kepa's positioning today was slightly off, and that movement to the right gave him an awful lot to do in order to get to that ball. So I gave him a 6. Cesar, I gave a 6 too as well. I think he was ran a little bit ragged. He was left a little bit isolated at times when Cancelo and Foden came at him. And he really looked tired in the second half. He looked like he had really ran a race. And I suppose that's a question we have to ask Chelsea fans out there in terms of Tuchel and his tactics and stuff like that. Did he start with the right starting lineup? Did he make substitutions when he should have? I mean, I was talking to the boys on WhatsApp during the game, and I was calling for Mason Mount to come on at least at half time. So bringing him on in the 80th minute, I think is kind of it's really a waste of time, to be honest. You know what I mean? You're not giving him enough time to get into it. But I gave Cesar a 6 anyway, you know, because there's always endeavour with him there, and he never stops going. But Father Time maybe catching up on him a little bit. Rudiger, I gave a 7 to. He was playing on the right side this time instead of the left side. I thought he was strong. He's outstanding. I mean, he stands up. Rarely, he always generally wins the battles. And I thought he did a decent job today. So I gave him a 7. I don't think at any stage was he really, really caught. Who else have we got here? Thiago Silva. It was kind of weird because City this time monopolised the wings mainly in terms of their play. There wasn't a whole lot came up the middle. So Thiago was kind of comfortable there in the middle. Shifted the ball out well to the wings, City did. So kind of his role was kind of really, it was negated by that really in terms of he didn't have to really stand up. But when he was called upon, he was called upon. So I give him a 7. I mean, I didn't see anything really from Thiago today that would suggest anything less. Malang Sarr, I thought, had a really, really good game. That last-ditch tackle on Sterling. But I thought he had a really good game. There was a number of interceptions, a number of balls that came across and stuff like that. So I thought it was really, really good. And, the French kid, he stood up well, and I thought he did really well. So I gave him a 7. Alonso, I gave a 5 to. I think, that needlessly getting booked so early and stuff like that, which is constantly a feature of Alonso's game. He creates more trouble for himself than anything else. But bringing Sterling down like that, and, we know the way Sterling goes down and he peers over at the ref, and then the ref kind of gives the card and stuff like that. He was replaced on the 80th minute by Mason Mount. That replacement should have come way earlier in the game, being honest. N'Golo Kante, back in the starting 11 after being out with CV. Sometimes a little bit sloppy on the ball and stuff like that. A couple of passes that went awry, not a feature of his game normally. Normally he's quite precise in the way he does. His breaking up of the play is normally pretty good. He's good at winning the ball back and stuff like that. But again, didn't hear him mentioned enough today to really impact on the game. It might have been a game that would have been more tailored maybe towards Jorginho and that bit of feistiness in there that you need. He was energetic, but shrugged off by Bruyne as well for the winner, really, you know what I mean? So I'll give him a 6. Kovacic, I gave a 7. I think this guy is really growing and growing week on week. He's just a solid performer, rarely dips below a 7. But he had a tough task today in the middle of the park. I mean, you're up against Rodri and Bernardo Silva and players like that, and it's a tough day at the office. You'll maintain it for a certain amount of time, like what they did till half time. But then once City up the gears and they start going through the gears, then they start moving the ball around. They kind of nearly take you out of the game. But I gave him a 7. Ziyech, I gave a 5 to, but I'm being generous there. I mean, we could even go as far as a 4. I just thought he was anonymous in the whole game. I think him and Lukaku have absolutely no synergy at all. There's no link up play there at all. But just, real struggle from today. Couldn't seem to get into the game at all. Seems very lightweight, taken off the ball very, very easily. Kyle Walker had him most of the day, if not all of it, being honest. Christian Pulisic, again, very, very quiet in the first half. Didn't really do a whole lot. Gave him a 5. Had to spend more time tracking back the counter at Cancelo and stuff like that, and all more so than play his own game. A couple of times he had a couple of opportunities where he was moving the ball around and stuff like that, but it was if today the front men from Chelsea, they were just hanging on to the ball too long, taking an extra touch that got them into trouble and didn't release the ball quick enough at times, and I just thought at times they ran themselves into trouble instead of creating that space by moving the ball either left or right. They seem to struggle with that today. So Christian gets a 5. Romelu Lukaku, super poor decision for the pass to Ziyech. Rather than shooting that one where when Romelu Lukaku picks up the ball just on the 18-yard line, you have to let fly. you don't be looking to put it back out to the wing and stuff like that. You have to let fly. You have to turn on a sixpence and absolutely unleash a thunderbolt. You don't be looking to play another guy in out on the wing and make another run. We know how strong Man City are in the middle of that defense and stuff like that. So to get a ball that's that precise back to you, and especially from a guy like Ziyech at the moment who isn't playing great, to be honest, you know, you really like you have to. Yeah, you're the striker, you're the man, you're the guy who's being brought in to get the goals. You know what I mean? And I think today he just shrugged it today. I thought his close control was sloppy. I thought the ball was all over the place. His body positioning and all was so weird when the ball came into him. And like for a big guy who should be open and receiving the ball, he was crunched and he was all over the place and trying to adjust and never seemed comfortable at all when the ball was coming to him. So a weird decision. And Ian called it on the preview show. He said he didn't think he should start. And now looking at the way the game panned out, he was probably spot on. Callum Hudson-Odoi came on from Ziyech on 68. Again, another change that I thought could have happened at least 20 minutes earlier, probably at halftime. Unlucky with it's kind of wasteful, not unlucky, I should say, with that free kick. Guys loaded into the box there and you can't pass the first man, which is really, really poor. And then absolutely volleyed the rebound out of play. Which really summed up Chelsea's day. It was kind of just hit and miss, nothing really there. Gave him a 5. I'm sure Tuchel would have been launching him for the bench and thought he might have come on and maybe opened it up a little bit. But the gulf and the quality really showed in terms of their play and stuff like that. Timo Werner came on for Pulisic on 68. Again, another change that could have happened earlier. This is going to be the story of this game, really, is Tuchel's kind of tactics in terms of his substitutions and stuff like that. He really took his time in making those decisions, and he really shouldn't have. Ziyech was out of the game. Lukaku was out of the game. Pulisic was out of the game. Alonso was out of the game. Kovacic had to be guarded. You know what I mean? There were so many changes could have been made so earlier that might have influenced the game a little bit more and give people more time to maybe make an impact on the game. Werner forced a good block from Laporte there when he had that opportunity, but realistically he was standing in front of him. He kind of half swung at it. He didn't really you never felt like if he's going to have a go and absolutely go through Laporte, but didn't. But again, with Werner, he just seems to run down these blind alleys, runs down too much, realizes what he's done, tries to turn back, loses the ball, or the ball goes out of play. There doesn't seem to be a sort of a mental thinking there in terms of as you're traveling with the ball, what you want to do, or you seeing what's unfolding in front of you. He just puts the head down, starts running, and realizes, oh, there's the end line. Boom, gone. Chance gone. Mason Mount came on from Alonso in 80 minutes. I'm not going to give Mason a rating. Really, he came on, put himself about a little bit, chased down a few balls and stuff like that. But giving the kid 10 minutes to come on and try and influence a game of this magnitude, you're wasting your time. And this is a game where Chelsea had to win. This is not a game even where a draw would have been acceptable. They had to win. And I just thought maybe it's a little bit questionable on Tuchel's side now in terms of his thinking, his tactics, the use of the players that he had available to him. And Ian called it last night. Ian said it on the preview show. He says he was worried about what players might be picked and who should be in and who shouldn't be in. But yeah, bad day at the office for Chelsea. Title race done. Man City sailing on. Chelsea, of course, 1 win and 6, which is not a title race form guide at all. Man City with the winner. Kevin De Bruyne, as I said, on 70 minutes, absolutely sublime. Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, unbelievable today. His strength in bouncing off players and stuff like that. For a guy who, he's well built and stuff like that, but he's not that big. But he certainly knows how to move and cover the ground. I thought he was exceptional. Cancelo, I thought was exceptional today. Kyle Walker, I thought was exceptional today. I didn't think Laporte had a lot to do. The guys at the back didn't have a lot to do. Edison, very, very little to do. Rarely called upon. Another note I want to put out there before we finish: Edison, his distribution is fantastic. That ball he played out to the wing that time was unbelievable. I think it was on the 80th minute or 82nd minute or something like that. He just shoots a ball out in the wing that's pin perfect onto, I think, Raheem Sterling's toe it was, and literally it landed on his toe. So shout out to Edison as well. But number of big performances there. Grealish, I wasn't overly awed by him today. He came in and he played, but he spends more time flapping his arms around and sitting on his arse than he does actually doing anything. And I think at times as well, I think that opportunity they had that Kepa saved, I think he could have unleashed that straight away. I don't think he needed to take that touch in the box. He should have just put it in, curled straight into the corner, and I think he would have got his goal. I don't think he's quite settled there yet. And I think he, today was just a lot of sort of, hands in the air and all this kind of thing. I think for a player of his quality and his talent, he could offer a lot more to Man City, to be honest. And it's not surprising at times where Pep takes him out of the team. But this has been your match reaction and player ratings for Man City 1, Chelsea 0, title race done. Till next time, it's been a pleasure. If you want to contact the show, at the upper_tier on Twitter. You'll get us on Gmail, the Upper Tier Podcast. We're on TikTok, the Upper Tier Podcast. Facebook and Instagram is the Upper Tier. You'll also get audio versions of the show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. A pleasure as always, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.